Have you ever said yes to something and felt your stomach drop before the conversation was even over? That yes sounded polite at the moment, but later cost you your time, your energy, your peace, and maybe even your confidence. Today, we're talking about how to say no without guilt because every yes costs something. Welcome back to the Jameela Adams Experience, where we talk about business, boundaries, mindset, and real life lessons that will help you build with clarity, confidence, and purpose. I'm Jameela Adams, and today's conversation is for every entrepreneur, every visionary, every woman, every leader, every helper who has ever overcommitted, smiled through the exhaustion, and wondered, why did I say yes to that? Because let's be honest, sometimes the hardest word to say is not a complicated one. It's not a long word, and it only has two letters. No. And for a lot of us, saying no comes with a whole emotional committee meeting in our head. We start thinking, will they be disappointed? Will they think I'm rude? Will they stop supporting me? Should I just do it? And maybe I can squeeze it in. But here's the truth that we're going to be unpacking today. Every yes requires a no somewhere else. And when you keep saying yes to someone else's priorities, you may be saying no to your own purpose, your own peace, and commitments you've made to yourself. Let's start with the problem. Most guilt around boundaries does not, it doesn't come from something wrong. It comes from violating an expectation. Sometimes that expectation belongs to someone else. Sometimes it was one that we placed on ourselves years ago and never stopped to question. Maybe you were taught that good people always available. Maybe you learned that being helpful meant being agreeable. Maybe you discovered that saying yes kept the peace. How many times have we dealt with that? And that leads to us avoiding conflict. And mainly, we wanted people to like us. And while they may have worked for, surviving in that certain season, it's not sustainable for leadership. Because as an entrepreneur, your calendar is not a schedule. It is a reflection of your priorities. Your energy is not unlimited. You are not the Energizer Bunny. I hate to let you know that, but it's true. Your attention is something that you can't keep giving out without consequences. So when you say yes to an extra project, yes to an unpaid favor, because I know you've done that, Sharon, yes to that coffee meeting, yes to that committee, yes to solving a problem that was never yours to carry, you have to ask, what am I saying no to in exchange? Are you saying no to rest? Are you saying no to your family? Are you saying no to the business strategy you promised yourself you would finally focus on? Are you saying no to your health and you really shouldn't do that? Are you saying no to your clarity, your creativity, or your peace? Think about the things that you're saying no to while you're saying yes to everything else. So, this is why this conversation matters. Saying no is not about declining a request, it's about protecting what you already said yes to. People pleasing looks generous on the outside. It really does. But internally, it can create a cycle that wears you down. And that's something we definitely want to avoid. So when you agree because you don't want to disappoint someone, you're really disappointing yourself. And then you become overwhelmed. And then resentment builds. And then your quality of work suffers because of the resentment. And then you feel guilty for feeling resentful. The cycle continues and it repeats itself over and over again. One of the hidden costs is that you become unreliable because you don't want to deal with it. And here's the thing, it's not because you're irresponsible, it's because you've committed to more things than one person can realistically manage. You cannot honor every promise when your yeses are stacked on top of each other with no space to breathe. The second cost is focus. Every unnecessary commitment steals attention from the goals that actually matter. Let me say this clearly. Distraction does not always look like scrolling through your phone. Sometimes distraction looks like being busy with things that make you feel useful, but it doesn't move you closer to your assignment or your purpose. Think about that. So the third cost is resentment. Yes, resentment. You said it out loud, but inside you are frustrated that people keep asking. Here's the hard truth. People learn your boundaries by what you consistently allow. You know, that whole thing, habitual line stepper. Well, you have to take responsibility for that because you allow people to treat you that way. Okay. If you keep making yourself available for things that you don't have the capacity for, people will assume that you do have the capacity. And guess what? They're going to keep asking and keep asking. And then you're going to become more and more resentful. So here's the thing, instead of blaming others for asking, you really have to take responsibility for answering with honesty that you don't want to do it. And just get in the habit of saying that. No, I don't want to, or no, that is not aligned with what I want. Ask yourself, where am I currently saying yes out of pressure instead of purpose? Where am I being agreeable at the expense of being aligned? Really, really think about that. And if you got to pause, pause. I really want you to understand why you are not letting your boundaries be made, or you're not creating boundaries for your peace. A lot of people hear no as a rejection. So here's the thing. A boundary is not rejection. A boundary is information. It says, I don't have capacity. It says, that's not aligned right now. It says, I need to prioritize something else. It says, this does not fit my goals for this season. So that is why no is so important, why it's very powerful, because it gives you what you need to be able to function and be able to move forward successfully with your business journey. And here's the thing, no is not rude. Okay. Saying no is actually being responsible. In fact, one of the most respectful things you can do is give an honest answer instead of offering an exhausted, resentful yes that you cannot sustain. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say I can't do it, because it's allowing yourself to be available for the things you can do. Another way to think about it. When you say yes from guilt, the other person may get access to your time and they won't get the best of you. Because you're not giving them your best. They get the tired version of you. They get the rushed version of you. They get the distracted version of you. The version that is quietly frustrated. That's not service. That's self-abandonment dressed up as generosity. And we're not doing that anymore. So today, we're not redefining no as negativity. We really aren't. It's really a positive. We are redefining no as stewardship. Stewardship of your time, stewardship of your energy, stewardship of your assignment, and stewardship of your peace. So I'm going to give you 5 ways to say no without feeling guilty. Okay. Number 1, stop explaining yourself to death. A boundary is not a court case. You don't have to get up and on your soapbox and say no. You just say no, it's not for me to do. You don't need a 12 paragraph of evidence or 3 character witnesses and full PowerPoint presentation to justify why you can't do something. A simple, respectful response is enough. Here's what you can try. Try this. I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm unable to commit right now. And you hear how that sounds? That sounds simple. It sounds professional. It sounds kind, and it's a complete sentence. Number 2, buy yourself time. You don't have to answer immediately. Sometimes when you answer instantaneously, you end up doing something you really don't want to do. So some of our worst yeses happen because we respond in the moment before we actually check our capacity. So give yourself a pause, take a breath, and then say, no, this is something I can't do. No, this doesn't align with what I want. And that way you can say, let me check my schedule and get back to you. That one sentence creates space for wisdom, and it allows you not to be pressured to do something. So make a decision based on priorities, not panic. Number 3, remember that discomfort is not danger. You're not in danger, and neither is the person asking and you letting them down gently. People may be disappointed, and that's okay. Disappointment is not an emergency. You can survive someone wishing the answer had been yes, and they will too. Their disappointment does not automatically mean that you did something wrong. You can't control their emotions, and you're not responsible for their emotions either. Number 4, make decisions based on priorities, not pressure. Before you say yes, ask yourself 3 questions. Does this support my goals? Do I actually have time? Would I still say yes if nobody felt disappointed? If the answer is no, you already have your answer. And number 5, finally, number 5, practice small no's. Boundaries are a muscle. The more you use it, the more you build. Okay. You don't need strength by waiting for the biggest, most emotional request to practice. You can start with low risk situations. Say no to something that does not fit your season. The more you practice, the less guilt to drive your decisions. So sometimes the hardest part is not knowing what to say. You really don't know what to say. So let me give you a few lines that you could put in your back pocket. Thank you for thinking of me, but I'm not available for that. That sounds meaningful, but I don't have the capacity to give it the attention it deserves. I'm honored you asked, but I I don't have the time. I'll have to pass. I can't commit to that, but I hope all goes well with what you're doing. You think the thing is you have to align, things with your priorities. If it doesn't align with your priorities and what your goals that you want to meet, then you're going to be struggling. And then once you start struggling, you'll become frustrated and then you'll become resentful and unreliable. So let's avoid that completely. Notice what these statements have in common. They're clear, they are kind, and they don't over explain. They don't apologize for having limits. And they don't leave the door open for negotiation if the answer is truly no. That's what we have to do. Set clear boundaries without feeling guilty. Challenge for you, because sometimes we don't leave out here without one or two. If you're listening right now, I want you to think of one thing that you may be avoiding saying no to. Just one thing. And maybe it's a project, maybe it's a meeting, a favor, a role, an invitation, or even an expectation you placed on yourself. Now ask this: what is this yes costing me? And think about it. I'm only asking you for just one thing, and just really work it through. Because if it costs you your peace, your focus, your integrity, your health, your assignment, then it may be time to choose a courageous no. So the bottom line here is you cannot build a business that honors your vision while constantly abandoning your boundaries. It's not going to work. Your time is limited, your energy is valuable, and your peace matters. I know I said that before. Your peace matters. So saying no, it's not selfish, it's stewardship. The goal is not to become unavailable. That's not what we're going to do. But the goal is to become more intentional. That's what I want us to do. Be more intentional about our actions, how we speak, and how we do business. Because every meaningful yes requires a courageous no somewhere else. And that's not something to feel guilty about. It's something to be proud of. And I want you to be proud of you standing up for yourself and putting those boundaries in place, because boundaries gives us confidence. And we need that, especially when we're working with others. So thank you for joining me this week. I really appreciate you. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to share it and, tell somebody who's going through it, who is learning to protect their peace and who's trying to honor their priorities. So until next time, remember, your no can be the doorway to the yes that you're actually called to protect. And along with that, as always, I want you to be inspired, be inspiring, be encouraged, be encouraging. But most of all, I want you to be you and know when to say no and not feel guilty about it. Take care.